When you guys were meeting, was it specifically with the purpose of writing a new album? Or were you guys still thinking that maybe some tours would be coming up when things opened up?
I think we just started to work on new songs. I don't remember anticipating
Yeah,
touring, but
Yeah,
yeah, it was new songs. I think at that point we had realized that this things were going to be like this for a little while until there was a vaccine. So I do remember having a conversation about, well, let's just then focus on writing new music and not worry about playing any old stuff and see what we can come up with. And that was good. I mean, just to have a distraction and get out of the house, was another element that you kind of forget now that things are partially back to normal. But just having that outlet to be creative and do something was important as well.
yeah, I agree. It was huge where it was at one point where it was like I felt like even though I was seeing everybody at work and I was still going into work every single day, I wasn't seeing any of my friends, and it was still kind of like a feeling of like being secluded, even though I had my partner, my wife. But it was at that same point, it's like, well, shit, am I gonna see my friends again? Am I gonna be able to play music again at one point? So, but yeah, it was good to finally be able to hang out with people again.
yeah, I just turned to the bottle, became an alcoholic. No joke. I was drinking so
What do
much.
you mean? I don't know what you're talking about.
I seriously drank so much during the pandemic. It wasn't healthy, man. It was not healthy. Yeah, no joke. No joke. That's some real stuff right there.
For listeners at home, Mark just took a long drag on his IPA.
Yep.
What's it called though, Mark? What's that IPA called?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. It is called the Silver Snake Unfolds Hazy IPA collaboration with Wailin Storms by Dirty Bull.
Nice. And they're a Durham brewery?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
5 doors from my house.
It's the 3 doors down, it's 5 doors down. It's a new
Yeah,
cover record.
it's a cover band.
So now would be a good time to mention that you recently released a new album called The Silver Snake Unfolds through Gilead Media. Which album is this for you guys? Is this 5?
Four.
It's
Fourth full
Full
length.
length, yeah.
Okay.
There's 2 EPs before that.
And Antenna Kruczkov, I'm saying that wrong. There's a Polish label too that's releasing it in Europe, just as a side note.
I'll let you mention the name of the Polish label. I mispronounced enough things on this podcast.
It's Antenna Kruczku.
Yeah, Kruczku. Antenna Kruczku.
Steve can do that.
Yeah.
I have enough consonants in my last name that
Steve wins at Scrabble every time.
yeah, for sure.
We were speaking about the writing process for the album and how this came out of an extremely turbulent time, not just for the band, but for the world in general. Do you think what you guys had just experienced, were currently experiencing when you were writing the album, affected the sound at all?
For me, yes, definitely. I assume everybody else, but I don't want to speak for y'all, but definitely for writing and the guitar playing and melodies, definitely.
For me, it was I was like stuck in a rut for like a long time, just having like writer's block because I kept feeling like I was writing the same thing for drums wise, writing the same thing over and over, and I had to really focus. And I took a couple lessons and just to kind of get me out of a writer's block, and it helped. And as far as the record goes, I feel really comfortable with playing on it.
It's hard to say, like it definitely, there's definitely effects there, but I guess it would be, not being a primary songwriter or lyricist, it's harder for me to put a finger on what exactly it meant.
I mean, Justin, do you want to say how this album was different or how you approach this album differently as you're coming up with new material?
Yeah, there's, a song that is like a more melancholic. I guess we have songs that are melancholic and more subdued, but there's a really, really slow ballad song on this record that is something that I mean, we kind of had something similar on the last record, but this is like, I felt like almost regressing a little bit to an earlier stage of Wailin Storms, where it was more stripped down and soul based, and it had this kind of R&B feel. But the theme of that song is like really, really dark. I was about to cuss a lot. Sorry. We can cuss, right? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I really,
yeah.
I just realized I started to do that. But it just deals with very, very dark. The theme of that song is like the darkest places that I went in during COVID, and that's kind of exploring these like really sad scenarios in my mind and kind of having to play that out and sing about it to hopefully, I don't know, avoid it. Yeah, like have like a invisible gargoyle, or singing about a gargoyle, and maybe it'll like ward off those evil thoughts or spirits. But I feel like this record is particularly dark and particularly dystopian, but also we went places with this record that felt pretty unique to us. Like Mark said, he was feeling like he was in a rut, and I felt like we were getting comfortable in the way that we were making music and recording. And I feel like, I don't know, this record definitely has, I mean, they all have special moments in it, but this one definitely has just a lot of, I don't know, substance and character that all the records have, but this one just, I don't know, something about it. It's ineffable. It's something that I can't really describe, but it just has like that magic essence, that sounds cheesy, but it's how I feel,
No, I think you nailed it with like having more character. I mean, I feel like there's a lot more involvement with the whole band, like with everybody. And I think that there's a lot of space in it. Then there's there's heavier moments on the record than I feel that we've had on the last.
I mean, is that, it's, can't deny that the situation that we were all in had some part to play in that. But I would also say just the evolution of the band, of us just working together as musicians and kind of understanding where our parts, I almost said farts, parts fit together.
You did say farts.
I heard that. I was like, nice.
But where our parts like fit together and how they mesh, and where, kind of getting a feel for how that synergy happens when you play with people that you work well with.
Yeah, I would agree there. Our synergy really just, we're kind of sequestered together for like 8-10 months, and we love and hate each other, and it just kind of, the magic appears eventually when we're practicing that much and working on new stuff. It's tough, but I feel like, here's a great record that came out of that journey. It was arduous, but yeah, it was beautiful. And also the recording process. That's something we haven't talked about, but recording with Dave, he let the music breathe. He kept the warts and flaws of what we kind of were intending to keep intact. And a lot of times that'll get produced and taken out and edited out. And that's happened in past records. And we kind of have had to be a little bit more blunt with the engineer and say like, hey, we want to keep that, we want that feedback. We want this and all these like weird missed notes or something. And with this record, I feel like you hear like all those beautiful little colors, in the songs and characteristics that Mark mentioned earlier.
Yeah, 100%.
But David's awesome guy that recorded, Dave Downham.
And we started this conversation with, Bauhaus and Black Sabbath and Killing Joke. Would you say that this album is doomier or maybe just slower and darker than what you've done previously?
I mean, I definitely would. If you kind of look, especially at the early albums, there's definitely more of a punk flair, I would say, to some of those, like in terms of tempo and just general aggression. This one dips into a very deep chasm of darkness. I mean, it's just, it really, it has some upbeat moments for sure, but it goes dark. I think that's the interesting part of this album versus Sick City or One Foot in the Flesh Grave in particular.
Yeah, I agree on that. I really think like and Justin will probably, I imagine he'll say the same thing. It's like, especially with the lyrics, just I think the timing of everything and the time that we're in, it just kind of let it go into a darker place. I think this record is a lot darker than the last three.
Yeah, I would agree. And there, like Steve said, there's like a silkiness to the sound where it's not like it's overproduced and we're singing Marvin Gaye, but there is this like pocket. There's like I don't know. It's a rhythm thing, so it's like Mark is responsible for that, but there's just like this, I don't know, soulfulness to it that's dark, but it has like, I don't know, character that doesn't necessarily exist on all of our records. Maybe our first EP or something that was like, in 2010. But yeah, there's interesting characteristics in this that don't exist on other records, honestly. And I think it has to do with us just the synergy of like of how we now respond to each other, and like as far as sonically, and we're just like so in tuned or so intuitive with each other now that we're just like in a nice beautiful pocket that's I don't know. Yeah, I can keep rambling, but I feel like I'm getting on a tangent.
Justin, you mentioned having some new elements on this album that weren't on previous albums. Do you want to see what those elements are?
Well, for instance, I feel like Carolina Moon, how we introduced that song was kind of serendipitous. Steve had a bass pedal that, was really just this weird, like sonic, like almost outer space terrestrial.
Kind of like a whirlwind almost.
Yeah, like it had this wind effect, but it also sounds like the beginning of Sam Haines and Ithium's record, Initium, or however you say that, where it's like everything's being summoned, like all these other worlds are being summoned, and you're like surrounded by all these gods or deities from other realms. It has this otherworldly type Pandora's box feel, or whatever Pinhead uses in Hellraiser.
I better say it before somebody comments about it on YouTube. I believe you're referring to the Lament Configuration.
Okay, yeah, it's been a while since I've watched Hellraiser. I played across the street from Hellraiser, where they filmed Hellraiser 3 in Greensboro, called the Hellraiser House. That's a little side note, but yeah.
It was loud as fuck.
Yeah. But it basically sounds like if you took a lot of LSD, which I don't condone, but when I was younger, I experimented with that. And it's kind of like you hear these weird worlds in your head. And I feel like Steve's pedal did that on Carolina Moon, for instance. And we gave that song a lot of space in that introduction to kind of paint this like outside storm effect or something, like just to create that mood. And that's something that we haven't really done, like create this ambient atmosphere that is present on that song. And sorry, Steve, I was speaking for you. You could be more specific about that.
I think you nailed it.
Like maybe the name of that pedal, I don't know. Maybe you don't want to give away your mystery, but
can't give away secrets.
I don't even know, to tell you the truth. I would have to go look.
It's a cool pedal though. But yeah, and then on our really slow song called Drag, I felt like we did something so stripped down, like something you'd hear on a dark jazz record from Berlin, like Born unto Clubhouse of Gore record, like where there's just so much space and so much atmosphere, and everything is breathing and in its little pocket, that it just feels like a different band. It's us, but it's kind of like Twin Peaks all of a sudden, or Nick Cave, or which we've been compared to. But it has this like, you're in this, I don't know, lounge in Berlin in 1920s, and everything's really dark and people are dancing slowly and you're drunk on absinthe or something. Just to give you a little picture of maybe like where that song belongs in time.